See, the reason I feel qualified to talk about this, and I have the answers for this, is because in my life, my parents gave me everything. But I don't feel this pressure to make a decision. But I know deep down I'd be upset if I made a decision that upset them. Not that they force it on me, but there's a little bit in my mind of like, you do kind of have to respect the sacrifices your parents made. And there's this battle between your emotions and what feels right. What you should do because you want to be grateful for the life that your parents have given you. But you also need to make your own goddamn mistakes. This is Farah. I think I built my whole life around not disappointing my parents, and now I don't know how to untangle myself from that. They sacrifice a lot to give me opportunities they never had. That story has been repeated my whole life. Every achievement feels like it belongs to them as much as it does to me. When I succeed, they say they're proud. When I hesitate about something, they remind me how much they've invested in me. I choose a career they respect. I live the way I hoped I would. Outwardly, I'm the good daughter. But lately, I feel this quiet resentment growing, and I hate myself for it. Sometimes I wonder what I would have chosen if no one was watching, if no one had expectations tied to their own sacrifices. I don't know if I'd be braver or more selfish. I just know I don't feel entirely like my life belongs to me. I'm scared that if I start making decisions for myself, I'll look ungrateful. But if I don't, I might spend decades living someone else's version of success. My question is, how do you honour your parents' sacrifices without letting them decide who you're allowed to become? But with this problem, I feel like I can switch into both perspectives here of being the parent and being the child. Because it's a fucking dreadful feeling when you sacrifice everything for someone and they don't appreciate it, they don't see it, they don't want it. It feels pointless. You feel like you're pointless, like you've wasted your time. And to be brutally honest, that is the case. That's why you have to be careful sacrificing things for people. You've got great intentions, but don't forget to live for yourself as well. I think there needs to be a balance here when it comes to being a parent and when it comes to being the child. I think you've got to respect what the parents have done for you, but at the end of the day, it is your own life. You've got to live your own life, no matter how much it upsets your parents in this situation. You can be grateful and not have to do exactly what they say. Now, there are different cultures in the world where this is so common that you've got so much pressure on who you've got to be. And that can take a fucking toll. That's where I'm lucky, because my parents, in a sense, don't really put pressure on me. They have their own ideas, they have their own opinions and experiences, but nothing's forced on me. And I think as a parent, that's how you kind of got to be. You've got to just let people take their own paths. And I think about this all the time. When it comes to teaching people, or when it comes to giving your opinion, like I am in these videos, I don't fucking know what the right answer is 100%. I just say what I feel. I just get off what's on my chest, in a sense, and what I feel. I could be completely wrong. I have shit that goes wrong in my life. I have things that are difficult or that I haven't learned yet in my life. And that's the same when it comes to parents. They seem to you like they've got it figured out. But there's also more than one answer and more than one way to live life. It's not just a simple A to B, and that's how it is. Life's so complex, life is so detailed that you can't just have one way of living. But the frustration with this is that your parents have their own upbringing, their own experiences in life, and they might look at your life and think you're so ungrateful because you've got so much more than I have or had. And that's the difficult thing. The difficult thing is, as a family, as a parent, you want a better life for your kids. Everyone wants their kids to grow up better than they did, to have more than they did. But what happens is, when that starts coming into fruition, we forget that people have their own lives. We also forget that you've got to let people have that experience that you didn't have. Just because you have worked all your life to get a better situation for your family doesn't mean that your family have to follow what you've expected and what you wanted. And at the end of the day, isn't the goal to have a child that's happy in a sense, or peaceful, or doing it the way they want to do it? I was thinking about this the other day, or it applies for me thinking about this the other day, that I see that one of Beckham's kids has started music, and it'll come up on my TikTok or whatever, and I read the comments, and it's just pure hate. You know what I mean? Your daddy's rich, your dad got you here. And it's like, why is that now a negative? Because isn't that what most families are aiming for? Most families are aiming to get comfortability for the children, to have that easier way of life, to get that money so they can go out and achieve the dreams. They can actually pay attention to it, because the majority of us have to work a 9 to 5, have to grind, have to live a life that with temporary unhappiness to get long-term happiness, and to get, for a future generation, happiness for them. Isn't that the point? Yet when these people actually achieve it, we start hating on the kids. We start hating that they've been given everything. That's the fucking point. That's what most people are working towards. And I understand it's envy, and I understand it's jealousy. But it's crazy, because we all want that situation for our own kids, or for me one day when I do have kids. That's the situation you want. You want the kid to be able to have an easier life, to be able to try and follow his passion, try and follow his dream, and not be stuck in a rat race. So why is everyone hating on a situation like that? Now, obviously, I see in life that there is no easy way to live. There isn't giving your kids an easy life. And that's where it comes back to this situation, that your parents have to know. No matter what decision you're going to choose for what you want, it's not going to be the easy road. It's not going to be the right road. There's multiple right paths for you. There's multiple ways to live. And there are going to be multiple ways where you make mistakes and you suffer a bit. And I think as a parent, or I think from a child's perspective, from a child, you've got to see from your parents' perspective that you were once this little baby, this little kid, this innocent little thing. But in your mind, you're this adult. And I think that factor's forgotten. And you have to remind your parents and say, I'm not this little kid anymore. I'm going out on my own. And if I've got to make those mistakes, I've got to make those mistakes. You might be right. But I've got to test that theory. I've got to go out and be wrong because I obviously don't see what you see, which is more important to understand what your parents see. And sometimes it takes the experience, the mistake. But the thing with this is, it's never going to go away. That feeling isn't going to disappear. It's always going to remain deep down inside you. What if I did? You know what I mean? So you have to take that leap. And I think there's a way to do it. There's a way to communicate to your parents, listen, this feeling ain't ever going to go away. I have to go and try it. I might be making a mistake, but you lot made mistakes in your life and look at how great you turned out. In life, we've got to make mistakes and it'll work out in the end. And sometimes it takes us really getting an experience that we hate to make us realize what we had. You might step out and try something that you've always wanted to go out and try, and you might come back to this life and be like, that was dreadful, my parents were right. And that's fine too. But you can't just live life in this small little bubble of safety. You do have to step out. You know, I remember thinking about this. I remember starting these videos. The thought, the nervousness on talking to a camera. Who the fuck am I to speak on a camera? Who do I think I am? This is out of character for me. This isn't what I ever imagined. It doesn't feel like something I should be doing. It feels unnatural. I'm now going to be judged. And it's the fear that you have to step out your comfort zone. And that's good for you. To step out and do things that you never imagined you would do. When you've got that little inkling of stepping out and going towards a dream, you can't not follow that. Because there are so many people in the world that don't get that opportunity to do it, to try and go for the dream, because they've got themselves too stuck. You're forgetting this is the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can always take risks and always try and follow a dream, but it's easier the younger you are. And that applies at every single stage. Whether you're 20, whether you're 30, whether you're 50 or 80, now is the time to try these fucking things. And what's the worst that could happen? That's what I think with this filming. I know if I just stick at it, this becomes successful. And the worst thing that could happen is that I stop. That's not so bad. You know, you gotta think of this factor. Everyone has that much shit going on in their own lives that they don't really judge you that much. They judge you momentarily because they've got so much going on themselves that they're not constantly thinking about you. You know, maybe your parents aren't even really thinking about you that much. Momentarily, yeah. But for the majority of the time, you know, they might just be happy to see you, to be around you, to love you, no matter what you're doing. And, you know, it depends what the parents are like. Because some parents have this obsession of status or obsession of careers are important. Like I said, different cultures have priorities on that. And maybe for good reason. Like I said, their upbringing might have been one of poverty. And they understand what poverty actually is like. And they just seriously want you as far away from that as possible. So it's now not about following dreams. It's about survival. Some people are in survival mode. But you were born in a safer environment, in a safer situation, where it isn't as dire and stressful for you, where you've got a little bit of time. Beckham's kid has a little bit of time, probably has a lot of time. And that's what we want. That's what we want. We want people to live freely. And I think what people have issues with is they have issues with accepting who we are. And a little bit that's on them. We all want people to be how we think they should be. But sometimes it's just easier to accept that someone's just going to be themselves. And that, to me, I think is the aim, just to be yourself. And listen, from experience, if you're living a life that's not yours and that's not for you and that forces you to not be your true self, you're going to be unhappy. And that's what you tell your parents, because they wouldn't want that for you. They wouldn't want you to not be yourself. But yeah, good luck with that one. Peace.